Good afternoon.
Quarantine Hearts to back with you.
How are you doing?
Good.
You just finished school?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what are we doing today?
Squeeze.
We're doing Squeeze. Are you into Squeeze?
Yes.
This is the first time I've ever seen this record.
Yes. This is the fifth album by the Velvet Underground, which many, and I mean most, don't even consider a Velvet Underground album, even though it says the Velvet Underground on it. So that's why we're reviewing it, because we're listening to the studio albums of the Velvet Underground. Right?
Interesting
Cover
art.
Yeah. The funny part about this album, there's a bunch of funny things
Squeezing
about
a building.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, great design. Yeah. Oh yeah. So the funny thing about this was not released in the U.S., which is kind of funny. Which is probably one reason why they don't consider it. It's unofficial album, but it's official. It really came out. It was only released in, this is a UK issue, and it was like a German issue. Never released in the U.S.
I thought it would be just acoustic.
No. So well, here's the deal with this album. So this is this is on the Polydor label. Who would actually?
Polydor.
They actually would get the rights to the live album that we're going to talk about
Polydor, right?
How did
on
they
our
score
last
that?
Velvet Underground episode. So we're going to talk about that.
Polydor.
Polydor, in through the Polydor. So they released Loaded, and as you may remember, Neil Young.
Neil Young.
Rabbits Die Hard.
Yeah, Lou Reed left the Velvet Underground before that album even came out, even though he recorded it fully with Sterling Morrison, Maureen Tucker, and Doug Yule.
Doug Yule.
He got frustrated with Doug Yule and just felt like he wasn't being respected and wasn't getting his due, and he left.
Doug.
So they were on Cotillion/Atlantic, and they couldn't really tour because, actually that's not true. They did tour without the Doug Yule. I have the lineup here. In 1970 and 71, they toured without Lou Reed, of course, and Sterling Morrison.
So who was in it?
It was Doug Yule on vocals and guitar, Willie Alexander, keyboards and vocals, Walter Powers on bass, and Maureen Tucker on drums.
Well, they got her to do it.
She did the tour, and Atlantic or Cotillion was supposed to release a second album, which is the stuff that was on this 1969. I think they were going to use some of that and maybe some new things, and Atlantic decided they didn't want it, so they dropped them. However, their manager at the time, this guy Steve Sesnick, now this is the guy that's sort of like the one that really makes this album kind of a dubious release. He then he says, Doug Yule, he's the guy. And he brings Doug Yule to England and gets him a contract with Polydor. Mm-hmm. And he said, get rid of that band. And Maureen Tucker was going to do it, but she was fired by this guy, by this manager. And Doug Yule was just like going along with it.
Why was she fired?
They don't say.
Brian Sesnick didn't want her.
Yeah, so after the tour, band manager managed to get the deal with Polydor, and Alexander Powers and Tucker were sent back to the United States by Sesnick. Presumably for him to retain maximum control over this finished album. He thought he might be able to cash in on this VU thing.
Funny, there's a Brian Sesnick who's a children's writer, too.
This is Steve Sesnick.
Oh, okay. Brian Sesnick is that.
Yeah.
Wonder if they're related.
So this is all songs written by Doug Yule. And it says recorded and arranged and produced by the Velvets, which is hilarious because all that is one other guy, the drummer from Deep Purple, Ian Pace. Mm-hmm. So it's Doug Yule and this guy Ian Pace making this whole album, and it came out in 1973. So what did we think of it? I mean, with all that said, you might think it's kind of going to be trash. What did you think, Silas?
Well, it was alright.
It was okay. I will say this: it wasn't horrible. I would say it's better than okay. There's some good songs, and interestingly enough, Miss Camera Woman, you'll be interested to know.
What are the good songs?
Dean Wareham and Britta covered this song "Friends."
I know that song.
It's from their EP, the La Ventura EP.
Yeah, I know that song, but I didn't know it was from this.
Very interesting. Dean Wareham being like, "Man, I'm going to play the song from Squeeze."
He doesn't care.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of a decent rock album. Dopey Joe, I remember being okay, and Mean Old Man was kind of fun. It's not bad at all, but it failed miserably. Like
Not Wordless.
Wordless, I don't remember. Do you remember Wordless?
Yes, I do remember Wordless.
And you like that? Or
It's
you
not
think-
even instrumental.
Right.
Well, that's funny.
It's
It's interesting to me that, like, I mean, I've always been a Velvet Underground fan. I didn't know that existed.
Most people didn't. I didn't know it existed.
Well, they did
until...
a pretty good job of hiding the body.
Well, you know, part of it is it never came out here.
Oh, okay.
That's part of it. I don't think it's ever been officially reissued here because, like, no one wants it. You know, like, but it's subsidiary. One of the labels is Loaded Records. Whoever that is. So
Loaded
there's really not much.
Records.
I mean,
Loaded, like
they
Velvet Underground Loaded.
apparently they did plan a tour. There's in the Wikipedia entry. There's quotes from Yule saying like he was sort of embarrassed by it, but that he said he put a lot of work and energy into it and stuff like that.
He's just embarrassed by it because it was a flop.
Yeah.
He would have been proud of it if it was successful.
He said he blames this guy Steve. I remember sitting on a plane writing extensive notes of the mixing of the album. I sent it to Steve, and none of my suggestions were taken. I'm sure he didn't even read it. He mixed it for the best possible commercial success. It's really embarrassing. I gave what I had at the time. There are parts of it I hate and parts I don't. But if I had to do it over again, it would probably be a completely different album with different people and have nothing to do with Sesnick.
I don't
So
like
this-
Crash. Crash is just...
You didn't like that?
No, it's goofy and it's not good.
So this is essentially the last Velvet Underground album until 1993 when they get together for a live album, which is with the official members and not Doug Yule. But that was just for a live album. In the 80s, they would release some rarities outtakes, which are a lot of what are on this 1969 album.
I like Louise, the best song.
Louise was good, yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of a fun one to have. This is by no means necessary to your Velvet Underground collection. You do not need this album. If you are interested in sort of like the full story of the Velvet Underground and sort of what Doug Yule was doing, check out this album produced and arranged by the Velvets.
Velvets.
Right.
So,
When are you going to rate it? I didn't hear it. I can't speak to it.
the banana treatment.
I think this one gets skyscrapers.
I think
Skyscrapers.
this one gets not done.
Not
What do you mean?
done.
It's done, all right. Look, it's done. Here it
It's
is.
done. It's
No, I
physically
mean
in your
like
hand.
What do you want
You're
to do?
not going to rate it?
I'm going to
No,
give
I
it
am
six,
gonna rate it.
6 skyscrapers or 6 bananas. I think there's a few decent tracks on it. If you asked me to like sell this album, I'd sell it in a heartbeat. But
Sell it.
I kind of like having it because the Velvet Underground is such a essential band. So
I mean, who knows if they had kept making records, maybe the next one could have had, an ice cream cone on the front, and the next one could have had
slice of pizza.
Somebody like gripping a baseball bat real tight.
Yeah.
So many possibilities of things that could go that fit in your hand and are grasped.
And apparently the band Squeeze, who was like more of a popular pop band, they actually took their name from this title.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Siley, how many whatevers do you give this?
Take it all back to town. Ain't it a shame?
I think we'll be coming back with one more Velvet Underground review of the live album for, I guess it's Mercury, not Polydor, and 1969, which is sort of the preloaded music that they did, which I think deserves some review.
Louise, take it all back to town. Ain't it a shame you're too old to get around? But everybody knows you used to dance the hoochie coo. Just can't